Bless your soul, David Pagnotta, for going out there onto the fourthperiod.com and giving Toronto Maple Leafs fans a whole bunch of fodder to talk about. Because this new article was published earlier today, actually, not even just this article, but there were already a few things going on from David Pagnotta in the fourth period talking about the Leafs and a whole bunch of other guys, but it was really brought to my attention from this piece published yesterday. The Trade Watch list of 2021-2022, here are the top 35 names. These lists are always fun to read because not only do they go over 35 names in the NHL that might get traded, but they talk about each and every team that have reportedly been involved with these players. One of these guys, as you can clearly tell from the title and the thumbnail of this video, is ranked 12th overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Not by the Columbus Blue Jackets, by the article from the Columbus Blue Jackets. There you go. It is indeed Max Domi. Now, before we go over and read what they have to say, let's just talk about the profile here briefly. Max Domi is already 27 years old. Can you believe that? Man, it just feels like yesterday this guy was drafted out of the London Knights system, Bo Horvat's teammate and all that stuff. He was taken after Bo Horvat by the Phoenix Coyotes. It just feels like yesterday that happened. Now the guy's 27 years old. That is wild to me. But Max Domi, 27, 5'10", 192, left-handed forward, making $5.3 million this season. The contract does indeed expire once the summer begins. He is not the super high-scoring player that the Phoenix Coyotes and the Montreal Canadiens wanted him to be. His peak season saw him get 72 points in 82 games, but that was 3 years ago, and he hasn't really had a season close to replicating that level of success. Honestly, looking at the profile, that was the one outlier year in a career that has pretty much been a consistent 40-50 pace career, every other season. You take a look at his first year in Arizona, okay, 52 points, 81 games, nice. The next season, 38 points in 59 games, around the same pace. The year after that, 45 points. Then you have the 72-point year. Pretty great, but as we're saying, it's the outlier here, because the season after that he had 44 points. In 2020-2021, he had 24 points in 54 games, which was a little bit of a downer, and then this season he's got 26 points in 46 games, on pace for 41 points in 72. So Max Domi has been pretty consistent if you disregard the 72-point year when it comes to being a versatile, all throughout your lineup kind of scorer who also gets involved physically once in a while. Domi, of course, is a Domi, so everybody kind of knows the profile and the mindset that these types of players go into the game with. They want to fight you, they want to get under your skin, they want to make sure that you're having a difficult time playing the puck, playing the boards, playing the body, and playing, just overall, because there's going to be some trash talking in there. They're going to want to throw you off your game. That's just kind of how the Domis go out there and play. Max Domi is an expiring contract, and he will be a UFA, and so wherever the NHL takes him next, it remains to be seen, but there has indeed been a lot of trade speculation regarding Domi as to whether or not the Blue Jackets would want to trade this guy again, not because he's bad per se, but because you could probably go out there and get yourselves a pretty decent haul out of this guy, and if you want to re-sign him, bring him back, whatever. Is a $5.3 million player really supposed to go out there and get 30-40 points on a year? Seems like a little bit of an overpayment to me, and there's no telling as to where Max Domi would lie in some contract renegotiations. You might not be able to get this guy back for a price that's worth it to you. And so, for Columbus, who isn't really in the running to make the playoffs anyway, actually they kind of are, to be honest. They're barely in there. They're the best team that isn't in the playoffs right now. Let's go over the NHL standings here. Just take a look at where Columbus is right now in the Metropolitan Division. Yeah, so they're fifth. They've got 59 points, and they are the best team not in a playoff spot right now, but they are 10 points behind Washington. Yeah, I take that back. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but this team does have the right to sell if they wanted to go out there and do that. This is what it says on the fourth period's trade watch list right here. Max Domi is having a solid season for the Blue Jackets, who are battling for a wildcard spot this season. If they fall out of the race, he could be of value to contenders looking for secondary scoring for a run this spring. He's in the final year of his contract, and he can become a UFA in July. Here are the teams reportedly interested: the Rangers, the Leafs, the Avalanche, and the Bruins. Now, the Bruins, not surprised. You talk about the profile that Max Domi possesses, and a lot of people think, okay, that's Philadelphia, that's Boston. Yeah, there's no real shock there. Colorado, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Colorado over the past few days when it comes to high-caliber forwards, so doesn't really surprise me they'd be in the running for this either. New York is a team that's just kind of going after everybody. There's like a new article published every day talking about how the Rangers want this player and that other player and maybe this other guy over here. It's wild for New York. But then Toronto is the interesting one, because as I said, it's not only on this fourth period article that we're looking at that Max Domi has been linked to Toronto. There have already been a few things that have published themselves over the past few days, and it's why, if you search up on Twitter, Domi Leafs, you get yourselves a whole bunch of Leafs fans talking about Domi and whether or not he would be a good player for this team, a bad player for this team. I'd say a lot of the reception that I'm seeing is like 70-30, okay, I really want Max Domi for this team. Now, a lot of that, in my opinion, I have to go out there and say this right here, just for the sake of disclaimer, I'm not really too sure if Max Domi's last name wasn't Domi, a lot of these Leafs fans would go out there and still want the same player. Like, I get it, there are some tangible assets that he does have that Maple Leafs could lack, in your opinion. You could definitely say, okay, they need more of this physical edge and this mental warfare kind of psychological thing that Domi's got going on for him when he goes out there and trash talks you. The Leafs need more of that. You're fair to say that. But there is a part of me that's asking in my head, okay, how much of this is based off of nostalgia? Okay, you liked what Ty Domi did when he was on the Leafs. Max Domi isn't really that same type of player. Like, he's not going to go fighting twice every single game. He's not going to end up with hundreds of penalty minutes on the year. In fact, the highest amount of penalty minutes Domi has had in an NHL season was 80. So there you go. Not really the same caliber of fighting and physicality that Ty provided, but there still is some of that there. But for Max Domi, there is indeed a versatility that you could say is valuable and that the Leafs could use throughout their lineup, because when it comes to depth scoring, you could debate whether or not that indeed is something that they could work on. Domi can slot in anywhere, top six, bottom six, whatever, and as we've noted, despite the fact that he was playing in the bottom six of the Blue Jackets for the past few years sometimes, he still was a very capable playmaker who would get points here and there. Now, the goals, you would like to see him get more goals than 9 literally every single season he has played. Take a look at that, man. 9 goals in 2017, 9 goals in 2018, 9 goals in 2021, 9 goals right now in 2022. Now, he's on pace for 14, so that's good, but I just kind of found that funny that we're taking a look at this today when he's got 9 goals everywhere. He had 28 goals in the Montreal Canadiens season where he blew up, so good for him. I don't really think that player exists anymore, but if the Maple Leafs want to go out there and try their hand at reviving this kind of player, then be my guest. We've seen the Maple Leafs have this very strange ability to do that for some guys. Alex Galchenyuk is the one that comes to mind immediately from last year in the playoffs, and all the articles talking about, how the Leafs revitalized Alex Galchenyuk's career. And I know I make some videos talking about that same idea, like, look at the revival of this guy, look at the rejuvenation of this guy. But I usually do that about players like Patrick Laine. I talk about players like Brock Besser, like actual stars, you know? Galchenyuk wasn't that, unfortunately, and Domi just, oddly enough, happens to be a guy that was traded for Galchenyuk a few years ago, so there you go, there's another connection over there. I know a lot of Leafs fans would want to go out there and give the benefit of the doubt to Domi, and I don't blame them, but you still have to consider, okay, this guy is making 5.3, you might have to go out there and ask Columbus to retain some salary, which I don't really think would be too bad, but tell me in the comments below, what do you think about Max Domi and whether or not you would want to trade for this guy? That's the first question. Would you want to do it? Because, as I said, it appears to be 70-30. Leafs fans going out there on Twitter saying that they would like to get this guy. There's only a very small portion of this fan base that I have seen so far that is like, okay, no, we don't need this type of player. We don't need Max Domi. He's not what you think he is. He's not the guy that's really going to be as physical. Look at the amount of penalty minutes he gets. He is not like Ty. I could totally understand both points of views, but as I said in previous videos, I do indeed like pandemonium in the NHL, and Max Domi is a guy who brings that, not to mention the fact that there are some ties that he has had to the Maple Leafs in the past, like, you know, the fact that he grew up a Leafs fan, but he doesn't like the Leafs after going to other teams and everything, you know, because his dad was there, etc., etc. There's a lot of backstory there, and context that a lot of people wouldn't really understand at first glance if you don't know, but it makes for an even more interesting discussion, doesn't it? So let me know in the comments, if you're a Leafs fan, what would you want to trade for Max Domi if you actually want to trade for this guy? And if you're a Blue Jackets fan, what do you expect to get for this player? Now, he is making a significant amount of money, so do you expect that you're going to have to hold on to 50% of that salary, and does that make your asking price a little bit more juicy? Let me know in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this Rosén, and Bye.